If you're an aspiring mangaka who dreams of turning your epic story into this huge, multi-chaptered manga like One Piece or Dragon Ball, but you've never made manga before, then I've got some news for you. Wanting to make this epic long series with 100, 500, or even 1,000 chapters is like jumping straight into the ocean, not realizing you don't even know how to swim. That's you. Right now, you're out of your depth, but we're here to teach you how to swim. And it all starts with a one-shot manga. We've worked with over 400 aspiring mangakas and pro manga artists with over 50 years of experience in the industry. And in this video, we'll guide you step by step with these 5 easy tips to make your first manga that you can actually finish and even pitch to publishers. Before we start with the 5 steps, there's something that we need to address first. If you want to make a manga for the first time, don't start big. All of our pro mangaka mentors advise our students not to begin with a long series for their very first project. According to our mentor Art Crumbs, a lot of beginners have no patience and don't realize that they need to develop their skills first before they jump right into making a long series. You need to learn how to crawl and walk first before you can start running. And our mentor Art Crumbs has been in the exact same shoes. In fact, the first draft of their manga Godsbane was 800 chapters long. I didn't have enough experience to know what I was getting myself into. They had a full-time job, worked on other projects and commissions, and eventually realized 800 chapters was just way too much for a single person to work on. So they cut it down to 40 chapters. And they would constantly ask themselves, is this actually needed for the story? Does it impact the plot, characters, or anything important in a meaningful way? Can I replace it with something else to use up less pages but retain the same effect? A lot of beginners often burn out quickly and quit. This happens because they take on projects that are too difficult to handle alone. And we just want to make sure that you avoid that. So, if not a long series, what should your first project be? As we've said on this channel before, you gotta start with a one-shot. A one-shot is more manageable, achievable, and takes less time. Publishers actually prefer one-shots over a longer series. Having a few one-shots in your portfolio is going to appeal more to publishers at portfolio reviews. And you can also join manga competitions with them. Our pro mangaka mentor, Nao Yazawa, said,
if you want to become a professional mangaka, aim to create at least one finished one-shot per year.
Now, you might be thinking, but I have this great story idea and I plan it as a multi-chapter series. What do I do? Don't worry, you can still use your story idea and all we need to do is just create a pilot chapter. We'll show you how. First, find the core of your story, your hook. Your epic story probably has a world, a cast, and a deep backstory. But for a one-shot, you only need one strong idea, a core conflict or question that can be resolved in a short time. So ask yourself, what's the most exciting, emotional, or surprising thing about this story? What's one moment or event that could capture everything in a single chapter? And then base your one-shot on that one core idea. Take Death Note, for example. The series follows Light Yagami, a high school student. He discovers a Death Note that Ryuk, a Shinigami, dropped into the human world. Realizing the Death Note can kill the people whose names are written in it, Light commits a series of murders under the pseudonym Kira, vowing to cleanse the world of corrupt individuals and create a perfect society where crime doesn't exist. However, the police quickly catch on and they enlist the help of L, a mastermind detective, to uncover the culprit. It's a thrilling epic with multiple characters, twists, and turns. But if you condensed Death Note into a one-shot, you'd have to focus on just one strong core idea or conflict. And for Death Note, what do you think that is? Let me know your answers in the comments. The answer is kind of obvious. It's the Death Note. It's even the title. What would a person do once they found the Death Note and realized its power? What would they do with that power? This core conflict is what the mangakas Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata began within their one-shot manga pilot for Death Note. It was called the Taro Kagami story. This one-shot is very different from the series in a few key ways. First, the main character is a 13-year-old named Taro. He finds the Death Note and accidentally kills his bullies with it. Number 2, people can still be revived if their name is erased from the Death Note. And 3, Taro revives the people that were accidentally killed. This one-shot is Taro's story, so it focuses on his journey with the Death Note. Which brings us to the next thing you need to focus on. Choosing a key character. In a long manga, you have time to explore a lot of characters and stories. But in a one-shot, you need to focus on one main character and one clear problem they must solve. In the Death Note pilot one-shot, it follows Taro, a young boy with a strong conscience. Unlike Light Yagami, who used the Death Note on purpose, Taro kills his bullies by accident. When he realizes what he's done, he feels deep guilt and horror. His story is simple and direct. First, he finds the Death Note. He accidentally kills his bullies. He realizes the true power of the Death Note, revives the victims, and stops using it. When another student starts using a Death Note, he stops them too. It's very different from the manga series. Light aspired to become a god of the new world by using the Death Note. What would it take for Light to become god of this new world? What obstacles would he have to face? Well, it took Oba and Obata sensei 108 chapters to explore and flesh that out. Taro's arc in the Death Note pilot works because his morality and remorse drive a clear, self-contained narrative. Unlike Light, whose grand ambitions need a longer series, Taro's story focuses on discovery, regret, and redemption. This makes it ideal for a one-shot. When crafting your own one-shot, remember that the right protagonist shapes the scope and depth of your story. So, choose wisely. If you're ready to finally create your first published manga and bring your stories to life, then we invite you to apply to our online one-shot manga drawing program. This is your chance to learn directly from pro-Japanese mangakas and published manga artists. You can book a free manga consultation call with us to see if we're a good fit to work together. The link is in the description. Third tip, start close to the action. The Death Note manga series had plenty of space and chapters for lore, backstories, and world building. But in a one-shot, you don't have time. A lot of one-shots don't usually have long exposition scenes, flashbacks, or even bother to explain their characters' backstories. So, start as close to the key moment as possible and reveal only what's necessary through action and dialogue. In the Taro Kagami story, everything happens in real time. We're directly following the action as it unfolds. Oba-sensei and Obata-sensei let the characters' actions in the story speak for themselves. Tatsuki Fujimoto does the same thing in his one-shot, Look Back. The story begins in the present. Fujino is a confident young artist. Her classmates praise her manga strips. But when she sees another student's work, and it looks so much better than hers, her confidence shatters. We don't get a backstory about her artistic journey or why she started drawing. Instead, we see her reaction, how she throws herself into practicing obsessively, fueled by jealousy and self-doubt. Her past isn't explained. It's implied through her actions. Fujino's rival, Kiyomoto, isn't introduced through long exposition or dialogue. Instead, we see her character through interactions with Fujino. Quick warning, spoilers ahead. Even when tragedy strikes during the climax, we don't get a dramatic flashback of Kiyomoto's life. Instead, we experience Fujino's present grief, regret, and reflection. This is how a strong one-shot works. It pulls us into the now, letting the characters' choices, emotions, and interactions hint at what came before. Every moment pushes the story forward towards a strong and simple ending. Since you lack time for a full journey, focus on one key moment of change. It could be a twist, a realization, or a decision. This moment will make your story feel complete. It doesn't have to solve everything. Just give a satisfying conclusion to the story's core conflict. Here are a few ways to nail a simple yet strong ending. First, a reversal or twist. Revealing something can add depth without making the story overly complicated. It should make the audience see the story in a whole new light. By the end of Fujimoto Sensei's one-shot, Goodbye Eri, the main character Yuta walks away from a building that explodes behind him. It's sudden, shocking, and forces the audience to rethink what they've read. How much of Yuta's story was real? Was Eri a real person? Or just another character in one of his films? The second type of ending is emotional closure. Give the protagonist a defining choice or realization. In a one-shot, there's no room for a full character arc. So, focus on one key moment where the character changes or makes a choice. In the one-shot, Attack on Titan Volume 0, we follow Murakumo, a soldier, and Tsubaki, a young girl who wants to fight titans. She asks Murakumo to teach her. By the end of the story, Murakumo transforms into a titan to protect Tsubaki and the city from an attack. His final battle is intense, showing his resolve to fight for others, even at the cost of his own life. The third type of ending gives you a full circle. Call back to the story's beginning in a meaningful way. Ending a story where it started creates a sense of unity and closure. In Look Back, the manga starts and ends with a scene of Fujino drawing manga. But by the end, she has a deeper understanding of what it means to her. The setting is the same, but her perspective has changed. Finally, mind your page count. Now that you have your key plot elements, you need to consider your page count and plot structure. You need to give yourself a limit on the number of pages, otherwise, you might just end up adding more and more details as you go. And before you know it, it's not a one-shot anymore, but another multi-chapter story. So, plan it out. Are you going to be doing 15 pages or 50 pages for your one-shot? If you want to send your manga to a manga contest, then check their rules on the minimum and maximum number of pages you can submit. You have to decide the total number of pages early on. Then, break it down according to the Ki, Sho, Ten, Ketsu storytelling structure. To recap, Ki stands for introduction, Sho stands for development, Ten stands for twist, and Ketsu stands for conclusion. For example, you can dedicate the first 3 to 5 pages for the Ki and introduce the conflict quickly. The middle pages is dedicated to the Sho and Ten. Build tension, obstacles, or an emotional moment. Then, insert a twist just before the conclusion. You can use your last 3 to 5 pages for the Ketsu and deliver a strong conclusion. Remember, your story should be punchy and tight. So, always ask yourself if all the scenes, panels, characters, and dialogue are all necessary. If you want more personalized help on how to rework your story ideas into one-shots, or you simply just want to publish your very first one-shot manga, then we invite you to apply to our online one-shot manga drawing program. You learn directly from pro-Japanese mangakas and published manga artists through weekly live Zoom training sessions. We're going to create a custom manga training plan based on your skills and your goals. You can book a free manga consultation call with us to see if we're a good fit to work together. The link is in the description. In the meantime, you can check out this video to learn more pro manga paneling tips to level up your manga.